All right, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to another episode of Contractually Speaking After Dark, I'm going to call it, because we're actually playing pool here with my good friend, Tom Stephenson. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Matt, for having me on.
So today we're going to talk about careers and contracts, talking about not about CLM or technology, but people, their job, their responsibilities, their careers for a change. So as we play pool here, Tom, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. First one, let's call it the career arc.
Ooh, okay.
So many folks are, focused on their job responsibilities, their titles. And of course, everybody wants, an executive leadership role that aligns with their goals.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you get into a role where it's no longer aligned with things that you envision or what you wanted to achieve. How do you navigate that?
I think it's tough. You and I both have been, I would say, throughout our executive careers on all sides, right? We started off working our way to the top. We found ourselves in, corporate America roles or law firm roles, and we pivoted into our own entrepreneurial journeys. And it's the tough lessons that we don't talk about often, how hard it is to climb to the top, right? How lonely it is, right? The work often, it's done unrecognizable, or the hard work that's done is unrecognizable. And that often can take a toll, and it's not built for everybody, So I think when I'm asked, what happens when you encounter a role not aligning with your center of excellence, I think it goes back to understanding what is your center of excellence, right? And what are you great at? And what can you contribute to?
And a lot of times, executive leadership role sounds great. It comes with a lot of responsibility, pressure, stress, because you have to own it. Mm-hmm. It's no longer a role where you just do your job and it's someone else's problem. It is your problem. And oftentimes people don't realize that until they're in that role, and then they get stressed out, right? Burnout occurs, and then you got to pivot out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's your career really is. Ooh, nice shot.
Thank you.
Man, you are crushing me. Okay, this is fantastic. This is fantastic. No, this is great. This is exactly how it should be. I personally think that your career is a total continuation.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of reaching back to my Credit Karma days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Director of legal operations, it was everything from technology to billing to CLM to these cross-functional duties. When I think of Legal IO and True Legal, it's the same thing in an executive world as you're talking about.
Yes.
Get out of here. What?
That was not intended.
That was incredible.
That
was incredible. That was great. That was great. That was great. That was great. Also, it's giving the props,
yes,
and Miley's flowers when they're due.
We can call it, what do we call it? Calling your shots.
Yes, calling your shots. I think that's exactly what it is. But with speaking of calling your shots, I think that's exactly what it is. It's whether I was director of legal ops, in legal operations at a Fortune 500 company, or as you and I have talked about, at an executive leadership role on the legal tech side, it's wearing cross-functional hats. You may be called one thing, but that doesn't mean that you're not setting up booths before conferences, or it's doing homegrown marketing, right, from the ground up. And I think I'm hoping that a lot of in-house professionals, whether they're legal operations, whether they're counsel, whether they're anything in between, learn that you're going to have to, color with different crayons, and you're going to have to add new tools to your toolkit, and you have to really step out of your boundaries. And I think it's the servant leadership that really serves the best purpose when you try and think about outside of the box skill sets you can add.
Agreed. And I think oftentimes leadership doesn't mean that you stop learning.
No.
Stop doing, because the team, the culture that you build, the team that respects you, when you're in it with them, you own the success, you own the failures. I think the quality of leadership that everybody needs to focus on is not the title and, oh no, I am XYZ title, but the responsibility that comes with it, and your actions matter, right? What you're going to say, do, the say-do ratio. I think what in my early days, I learned something from my CEO do what you say what you do, and keep it consistent. Don't ever, start saying stuff that you never deliver or do stuff that you never told anyone you're going to do. And that builds trust and empathy.
Mm-hmm. I was listening to a podcast recently, and the guest was talking about, the question was framed essentially of, you have this confidence, right? You have, as a leader, you build this confidence where you need to first build your team. You sometimes have to self-sacrifice yourself for the team, right?
Yeah.
And then empower the team to grow and lead. And then after that is a brand new level, I guess, if you will, that you unlock, that I've recently tried to tap into more in my career. And it's this mantra that was totally attributed to this podcast I listened to that said, make sure that you do both sides of the coin, that you're preparing to fail and failing to prepare. And that will then come off in not this cocky or, righteous way, but it will come in this like, your stuff, you understand the market, you are looking around, you're being collaborative in your partnerships, right? And I think those are really these traits that you learn as an executive that I think groom and blossom over time.
Absolutely. So with that, I will close the topic of contract arc. Okay, next question, Tom. Malbec, we are in the CLM space. We provide CLM solutions for enterprise. And over the years, I've seen the questions change from our buyers, because many years ago,
Nice
touch. Many years ago, they would ask, hey, can I build my own approval workflow? Or can I build my own template? Can I build my own clause library? Now the questions are, tell me about your AI functionality, and can I build my own AI models? Can I build my own co-pilot or agent on top of it? It's all about AI. And as I hear these questions, I also feel like the talent that these customers...
that's like
the bumper.
Almost.
Well, that happens in the careers too, right? Sometimes you hit a bump.
Yep. Sometimes you hit a bump. Sometimes it doesn't work out. I promise you. Sometimes it doesn't work out.
That bump makes you stronger. So the talent in these organizations that are...
doesn't work out.
Well, you bounce back.
Yeah, there you go.
So many puns that come with the pool table today. But the skills that they're going to need as part of their organization are also changing, because it's no longer about just, building a visual workflow or clauses or templates. It's about building AI agents and AI models. So tell me about what your thoughts are as people upskill and take training for their career, where they should be focusing.
Yeah, reaching back even into my own toolbox as well. I frequently talk about, even though I've been in legal for 15 years, so close. It's always been rooted in this financial acumen, strategy, ROI, and trying to kind of squeeze the most out of the grape, whether it's through social media, whether it's through pipeline activity, or whether it's through budgeting and right-sizing human capital for teams, right? And I think that for me has been a core skill and a core asset. But now I, even in my own career, am adding on the technological component, right? Okay. So we're having this advent, right, of epiphany. And I think where we used to be able to really hit home on what separated a lawyer from an in-house professional, we're going to make this muddy. There you go.
Okay.
Sometimes you just set it right up right there,
This is called helping your peers.
It is.
You're helping.
This is community at
absolutely.
Yes. We used to say that we wanted to hire in-house professionals because they had business acumen, right?
Correct. Yep.
I believe in 2026, my prediction is that we will start talking more openly and honestly about the difference between legal professionals not being law firm versus in-house versus those that are technologically looking forward versus those that are just technologically competent. Dang, that's a really great shot.
Well, I think, Tom, because of your career talk, it's making me a better pool player.
There we go. Yeah. Yes. But I think really the key differentiator here is the fact that at the end of the day, you know, I think the buyer and the purchaser are going to be more technologically savvy. They're going to understand, and they're going to have to be embedded into workflows. And this technical aptitude wasn't something I think that we saw in the industry a few years ago.
Oh.
But with how quickly it's being adopted and embraced into strategy in 2026 for corporations, I think we're going to have this entire new purchaser and buyer that's going to come over the next few years. And I'm excited to see what that is, because I think a lot of us don't know. And I think that's pivoting, and it goes back to always making sure that you're thinking ahead, you're looking forward. You know, I think a skill set of mine is I have a market advantage and know what doesn't work. And sometimes that's a great advantage because you can then pinpoint, you know, or eliminate the noise. And I think eliminating the noise is a great leadership skill.
I agree. And this is why, you know, all these networking events and all, while it takes you away from your day job and then you have to go home and catch up on all your work, it's important because you learn, you hear things from the community, from your peers and others who are trying things, what they were able to
doesn't work,
what didn't work. So it is all just building the knowledge base. All right, let's take on one more question. The future of contracting, and not about CLM, but just in general, how we negotiate with our suppliers and customers, partners. Provisions are changing. What you include in the contract language are changing. How you review a contract changes. Data privacy, you know, does your supplier use AI? Is your data going to be shared? Lots of stuff is changing. So beyond technology, it comes with skills that the attorneys and even legal operations that are drafting and reviewing the drafts and red lines, they have to shift, getting away from your just indemnification, liability. Yes, that is still important, but now you got this whole slew of other provisions that people have to pay attention to in their contracts. So Tom, as I hopefully, if I miss this red ball, that's
if you miss this, this is sad.
My problem is I cannot scratch, but that's for all of us. We don't want to scratch in our own careers or contract.
No, we do not want to scratch in a contract. That is not going to be great.
So Tom, what are your thoughts around that? That was sad, but I'll let that be.
That was actually a prime example of wake me up when you're ready, right? I think one of the things that we're really seeing come to light is people building their own technology stack and learning on their own. Even outside of legal, right? I think just the world in general is in kind of this curiosity mode, if you will, where you're seeing a lot. I see it on the train all the time. I'm watching people watch videos of how to learn some new skill set, whether it's coding or something with Gen AI or whatever. And I don't know these humans. They're sitting on a train, so I could make up a story. But it's just interesting to see outside of even a professional world how that is starting to be embedded into just our human life. And I think the human in the loop element is the prime example here of that, of being able to, if we're all being forced into the adoption or use or strategy of using Gen AI, that's the new foundation in 2025. But in 2026, what I'm interested to see is after we all have been able to build our own agents. See, I have a nice little line right there, you know?
Yeah, but clearly that red ball by the pocket.
It's right there. It's not
easy for me.
Now the risk right there is that my AI agent that I am building might talk to your AI agent, but what happens if something goes wrong?
Right.
And I am excited to see what happens in 2026 when it comes to both contracting, but broader legal technology of bot-to-bot interaction and how it truly transforms the way that business operates.
I'm hearing about that. Even for simple NDAs,
yes,
let the bots exchange the first set of red lines back and forth, and only escalate to the human attorney when there's a conflict, right?
Right.
So yeah, bot to bot. I've been hearing a lot about that. Even for things like simple NDAs, let the bots exchange the first round of red lines back and forth till a point where bots cannot resolve a provision for the human attorney to come in. But that requires, again, that skill set, right? That the legal ops, the admins, the CLM owners need to adjust to that kind of a workflow where bots are now involved and humans come in later. Because even with the bots, who is going to be configuring them or creating them to align with your...
Ooh, there we go.
I didn't want to scratch on that one.
No.
Who will, manage the logic around the bots, right? What provision, the playbook, the guidance around each of the provisions that you have to negotiate for different types of agreements.
Yeah. And I think we see often where this bot-to-bot interaction is going to be really useful. And I think we'll see a lot of case studies that will be impactful for legal teams. Incredible. Good job. And I think it really just goes down to understanding what the business need is, right? And so if the risk is low for there to be, these NDAs and these other simple workflows, employment agreements and things like that, right? That could potentially be utilized by, technology to technology interaction, if you will, right? Internally, that's a core foundational pillar that I'm seeing 2026 corporations have as an initiative. And then the 2.0 is, okay, now when we built our own legal center of excellence around these bots, how are those bots talking with other centers of excellence within the corporation itself, right? So if the marketing enterprise, right, or the sales enterprise, or, the finance enterprise, I've been trying to build my own bots that are talking about how customer acquisition and to being able to understand, the customer lifecycle journey. But that's just an internal bot. If I'm not utilizing that bot to talk to other AI or technology solutions to allow me to update the cycle or the journey or the customer profile, then I'm really just building this kind of, this army inside of a moat that isn't really going to go anywhere. And so I think that's the 2.0 that we're going to see a lot of corporations take in 2026.
Yeah, no, indeed. So excited to see what the future is. As a technology provider, for me, I have to keep learning.
Yes.
Keep innovating and keep up with what's coming. So 2026 will be awesome as we approach the holidays.
Well, in 2026, I'm going to learn how to play pool because I suck. So
I honestly think by me talking about all this stuff, I got the balls, sunk in better than I ever could. Otherwise, I suck at it.
I will say I am neat, meticulous, organized.
So now I know anytime I play pool, I got to talk about legal tech.
Well, thanks for having me on, Matt.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you all for watching. And until the next time, have a good holiday season.